Tom Cheetham, PGA professional here at the Chase Golf Health and Spa. This week's tips we're going to be looking at putting, so I've got a few tips for you. Obviously you can see that we're inside today because the weather's bad, so these are actually drills that you can practice in your own home. So three main problems I see quite a lot when it comes to putting is number one, alignment, number two, lower body movement when you're putting, and number three is the wrist hinge and breaking of the wrist in the putting stroke. So as you can see, there's a hole where we've got a cup on the floor. And we've got two clubs lying parallel on the floor to help with your alignment. Now these clubs need to point not at the hole but where you want the ball to actually start. So this one is obviously a flat cup because we're inside on carpet, so it's pointing straight at the hole. But make sure if you're on a hole where you've got a bit of break, these need to point where you want the ball to start. Okay, so really simple. Two clubs on the floor, parallel to your target line where you're aiming, and you just want to practice keeping that putter nice and straight in between those two clubs. Simple. Okay, tip number two is lower body movement in the putting stroke. Now we'll see this quite a lot with people, not just beginners but quite advanced golfers as well, where they've got a lot of movement in the hips and the lower body. You tend to see people where their legs drive towards the hole in the putting stroke. Now it's important that you keep your lower body nice and still when you're putting. The easiest tip I've got for you on this one, I'm using a range basket. Now obviously you can use anything to put in between your legs, whether it's a box. The best one that I've found is using a football. So you want to practice, obviously you've got a range basket, football's the best, in between your legs. Practice keeping those legs nice and still in your putting stroke. Obviously, if you're moving those legs, then that basket or that football that you've got in there is going to drop. Okay, now on to tip number three. The next common fault that we see are the wrists breaking in the putting stroke. Real simple tip for this one is to get your ball and wedge it in between your wrist and your putting grip when you address the ball. Okay, now that'll help you keep your wrists nice and firm and locked in that position. If you're breaking those wrists, that ball is going to drop straight out of that wrist where it's wedged. So there's your three putting tips. So you can practice these at home, you can practice those on the putting green and put those into practice and see your putting start to improve.